Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living of Delaware.
Good morning.
What a beautiful group. Ernest Holmes wrote in Living the Science of Mind, page 360 and 361, "We must find some reason for having a faith that is stronger than all of our fears. And by this I mean a direct faith in God. There is nothing for God to be afraid of. And if we can and do tune into the thoughts of others, and if they affect us, as they most certainly do, why should we not learn to tune into the mind of God, which is free from fear and doubt? This is what is meant by prayer and meditation. For in the act of prayer and meditation, we commune with the invisible spirit. We draw its strength, its peace, and its serenity into our souls. As a result of this, we become strong and self-reliant because we have built up a confidence in life, a faith and conviction which wards off fear, a whole and happy mind." Please join me in speaking this affirmation of November with me, with faith and conviction.
I know there is nothing to be afraid of in God's world.
Fear cannot operate in me. I am a center of confidence, protected by divine love, guided by divine wisdom, and strengthened by divine power. I turn to the people and the leaders of the world everywhere, and know that love and intelligent guidance is directing their thoughts and actions. Yes to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So beautifully read. How do I speak of this amazing experience that we have just been through at the Parliament of World's Religions? That has been my question that I have been living in as I prepared this message today. And the topic, of course, which is the antidote to fear, that is getting out of that contagion of fear that seems to be spreading on our planet, and to be those who are not only the presence of love, but who spread the energies of love wherever we go. And so I guess let's begin at the beginning. Let's take a look at some of our founding principles. And I want to read some of these to you because this was actually from a seminar that I went to that was given by several people, but the authors of this particular book really, I thought, spoke so beautifully to what we teach here in this center. And it's so interesting because it comes out of Native American or indigenous cultures, and along with quantum physics and also some of the New Thought teachings. It's this beautiful marriage of it. And it's by Andrew Cameron Bailey and Connie Baxter Marlowe. They were two of the presenters, and it's called The Trust Frequency is the name of the book. And what they say is, if you live by these 10 assumptions, and these are going to sound really familiar to all of you who've been involved in our spiritual community for quite some time. If you review these and if you embody them, then you become that beneficial presence on the planet, the transformational factor. And so here it is, and listen to this. We live in a conscious, loving universe. There is only love. Yeah? Anybody? Yes? The universe loves us unconditionally. It gives us everything we ask for. We receive exactly what we request. We create our reality by the power of our consciousness. The 7 A's, awareness, assumption, attitude, attention, alignment, action, and allowing, those are all the A's, are our requests to the universe. So it's all the things that make up our vibration, our request to the universe, and determine the frequency that we inhabit. There is an infinite number of frequencies, and we call these levels of consciousness in our teaching, each with its own distinct reality and its own distinct laws. Free will is an absolute law of the universe. We have the freedom to consciously choose our frequency, our consciousness. We are masters of our own destiny. Circumstance guides us on our journey to wholeness, and it's an evolutionary and upward spiraling phenomena of evolutionary movement. There is only now, the present moment. Living trustingly in the now, we experience the true nature of the universe. All creation is one. Separation is a man-made illusion. Separation is a man-made illusion. Let's say human-made illusion. We are the consciousness of the loving universe individualized. Humanity is on an evolutionary upward spiral leading inexorably to a higher reality that they call the trust frequency, heaven on earth. The trust frequency is a real place of unfathomable joy, peace, and abundance that is freely available to anyone, anywhere, any time. Those are the 10 assumptions. So how does that feel for everybody?
Great.
Yeah. See, this thing that we teach here is it's not just contained in the New Thought movement. It is something that is inherent in the mystical traditions all over the world. And so that's the thing that keeps coming back to me over and over and over again. So we are here to not only understand this truth, we are here to embody this truth, to be it, to live it, to be participants in creation, conscious participants in creation. We are here to share the love that we are and to co-create heaven on earth, to create a world that works for everyone, where no one is left out. You know, we keep talking about inclusion. So that means we're here to dismantle the patterns of fear that reside in the subconscious mind. We're here to truly live from that true essence of who we are, which are individualized expressions of the divine. We are here to evolve into what has been called the universal human, the next evolutionary step of humanity, which is the ones who embody these principles that I just went over. The awareness of oneness, the energy of love, living in that frequency of trust in the good. And so the visionaries, the spiritual leaders, the participants of the Parliament of World's Religions and all the light workers across the planet, I know are at this very moment midwifing a new consciousness, midwifing, giving birth to a new consciousness. We are doing it in ourselves, and we are supporting each other. That's the power of community. That's why community is so important, so that we can continue to look into each other's eyes and remind ourselves of who we are in truth. That beautiful essence, that oneness that interconnects us all. And we truly are in this together. All of the daunting ailments that we see in the world of conditions on this planet are simply, when we look at it from a higher perspective, the evolutionary drivers of that next expression of who we are. And we have within us, because we are in union with God, with the divine, we have within us the answers to these daunting, these things that seem sometimes insolvable. We have within us the answers to that. And it's important for us to know that each and every one of us has within us a piece of the solution. And so, and depending on our different gifts and talents, we each are part of the solution. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't fall on the shoulders of any one person. It is about collaboration, cooperation, truly working together for the greater good. So as you contemplate this, I trust that you are looking within your own heart. You're contemplating the skills, the gifts, and the talents that you have, that you can bring forth on this planet to make a difference. Birthing pains. I love this because if we're midwifing a new consciousness of oneness, a new level of humanity, there are also the birthing pains. So all of these things, social injustice, environmental degradation, inequality, I could go on and on and on, war, hatred, fear, all of these things that are showing up are simply birthing pains. If we can remember that, we can remember what Valerie Carr taught us at one of the plenaries, this beautiful young Sikh woman who was pregnant as she was delivering this message. She said, breathe and push. That's what we're called to do. We're not to resist it, because remember, what you resist, right. We are to breathe and push. We are to give birth to this new consciousness, because here's the truth. The old consciousness is not going to solve our problems, that old consciousness based in fear. The consciousness that will resolve the challenging things going on this planet is the consciousness of oneness, the consciousness in which love, peace, joy, and solution resides. So it is up to each and every one of us to make a commitment to our spiritual practice. Meditation, prayer, journaling, yoga, whatever it is that you do, make a commitment to that, because your piece of the puzzle is so important. Your spiritual practice, aligning, embodying that consciousness of oneness is what is yours to do. And then the actions that you're guided to take. Breathe and push. I really want to acknowledge all of the enlightened spiritual leaders, visionaries, and light workers who are and have been for quite some time modeling and practicing this thing called love and inclusion, which was the theme of the Parliament. And what came to mind to me was the phrase, everything we need to learn, we learn in kindergarten. Because what came to mind to me, I was a school counselor. For many of you who don't know this, I was a school counselor for quite a few years. And we had something in our school called the Green Circle Program. Anybody hear of the Green Circle Program? Phenomenal. The Green Circle Program is simply this. And this is done with elementary students. There's a board, felt board with a great big green circle on it. The green circle stands for our circle of love, our circle of caring, our circle of inclusion. And the students are introduced to all of these little felt figures that stand for different types of people. People who move about in wheelchairs, people who are thin or people who are large, people who are short, people who are tall, people who are from different religions, people who are dressed in the costumes of different cultures. And I could go on and on and on. Different religions, different races, and so on. And the children are asked, is this one thing that's different about them from you enough to leave them out of the circle? And the children unanimously go, no! Okay, so then the teacher begins to put all of these different characters into the circle of caring. And the children are taught, it is up to you. You have a choice as to who is part of your circle of caring. You have the power to choose. And so how can we welcome people into our circle of caring? And the children then begin to come up with different ideas as to how they can do that. Isn't that a beautiful model for what the Parliament of World Religions is doing and what we teach is to realize that everyone belongs in our circle of caring, even those that we have a challenge getting along with, but we can still care about them in our hearts. And so that beautiful model, I think, so beautifully demonstrates what it is that we are up to in this idea of love and inclusion. So you might be contemplating right now, well, how about that person? Or what about this person? You think about people that, do I really want them in my circle of caring? I'll just leave that part up to you. It's something to contemplate. It's something to take into your prayer and into your meditation. Okay. So let's take a look a little bit more at this thing called the fear frequency and the trust frequency that was based on this book that I that I talked about. Let me see if I have some water here. I don't. Okay. So the fear frequency. What is the focus of the fear frequency? We're focusing on what? What's missing? What's missing? What's lacking? Yeah, it's focusing on what's missing, what's lacking. What? Yeah, what's missing, what's lacking. And so the more we notice what's missing and what's lacking, like I don't have that, that person has it, but I don't. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a little sip. What happens is then, excuse me, as we develop the energy or the frequency of fear in our bodies. See, this is where the power of choice is so important. So as where our attention goes, energy flows. That means we create the fear frequency in ourselves. And again, the core assumption is separation from my good, separation from God, separation from other people, all those forms of separation. The downward spiral of destruction, it's a downward spiral. Destruction, limitation, scarcity, conflict, competition, anxiety, hatred, violence, and us versus them. How much have we seen that recently? That whole energy of us versus them instead of we are one. The trust frequency, this is the new evolutionary expression of humanity. The focus is on abundance, possibility, solution. So you're not focused on the problem and what's missing, but we're focused on solution, possibility. There's a great faith and trust in this frequency. It's called the trust frequency. Gratitude and appreciation for what already exists. And the core assumption is oneness. And it's an upward spiral of love and trust, free will, the here and now, cooperation, intuition, and it's supported by meditation and prayer, that divine connection with the creative mind of spirit. Gandhi, that picture that Candace had projected up on the screen, Gandhi is a great example. There are many examples, but a more contemporary example of this thing called the trust frequency. Jesus, Buddha, we could name a whole lot of different people. Martin Luther King, other people who we know live in this trust frequency. And many of us here live in the trust frequency. When we live in this frequency, we live in what Thoreau called a higher order of being. A higher order of being. So this trust frequency then, because it's a higher frequency, it's oneness, we have a divine connection with the mind of God, the mind of the divine. That means that all of the solutions and ideas we need are present. The new vision of the new human, the new vision of heaven on earth, of a planet that works for everyone. And a great example of what comes out of this is what I had mentioned earlier, this machine that Andrew, the author of this book, is participating in bringing forth this machine that takes carbon out of the air and helps to clean up the quality of the air. Another one that I can think of is there is a young man who has figured out a way to harvest the plastic, that big plastic island that's out in the ocean, and to convert it and begin to start cleaning up the ocean. We know we have a lot of work to do, but it's important to acknowledge and notice the solutions that are beginning to unfold as we focus our attention on that instead of the fear of what might happen. We begin to join those who are seeing and also bringing solutions forth onto our planet. So these are forms of love in action. This is love in action. So love in action is solution oriented. It's cleaning up the environment together. There was, we talk about the next generation and their love for our planet. There was a group of young people, probably Generation Z, who put on a dance and song act about plastic. And here I was holding a plastic water bottle in my hand at the time and going, oh my gosh. And Candace was there with her metal one, right? So Candace was right on, right? And so it really is about us becoming more mindful, waking up, and really living this message of solution orientation, or being the solution to what is needed on the planet. Reconciliation is another big love and action thing that is up right now. And it's the first step toward building social justice. So one of the things that's happening in Toronto right now and in other parts of Canada on a really active basis is reconciliation with the Indigenous culture, the Indigenous peoples. And that means not only publicly apologizing for all of the harm brought to them, but it also means allowing them to self-govern, providing food, medicine, shelter, those things that will help them stabilize and grow. Interfaith dialogue, another love in action, a way in which we can get together, come to a common understanding, and problem solve. And I was given the blessing of facilitating an interfaith dialogue circle that took place at the Parliament in our little New Thought booth. And there were people there from different spiritual traditions that were in that circle. And so it was an opportunity for us to hear and listen to each other and to gain greater understanding. Microloans, and often given to women because what they found out is that the women would apply them immediately to support their families. This is in third world countries, to support their families. And also there was a man who got up and spoke at the plenary who said they figured out if they could empower all of these women to plant their gardens on the land that's already been cleared across the planet, it would take care of hunger. We don't have to rip down more rainforests or clear more land in order to do that. We have land that's already there available, but it just needs to be supported. So that was a really wonderful thing to realize. Standing up for girls. Oh my gosh, Sakina Jacoby. Could you show a photo of her, Dan, please? This woman, she looks like Mother Teresa. So she's the Mother Teresa of the Muslim faith, and she lives in Afghanistan. And she got up in front of the plenary of thousands of us and shared with us a story of how she stands up for not only the education of the girls in Afghanistan, which often has to be underground, but she also stands up for a practice that she feels is so unjust, which is older men marrying 12-year-old girls, 10, 12-year-old girls, young girls. And so a widow came to her in tears one day and said, I made a horrible mistake, I can't believe I did this. I was so desperate to feed my children who were starving that I gave, and she gave this man who's like the town bully who has all this land, and he has his men that support him with the machine guns. Um, she needed food, so she went to him, and he said, okay, I'll give you a bag of rice. You give me your 12-year-old daughter. And she did it. And she was just horrified that she did it, so she asked Sakina for her help. She's probably about this tall. This very tiny but very powerful woman called him in to speak with her, and he did. He came with his 15 machine-gunned men who were supporting him, all with their machine guns, hopefully thinking he'd intimidate her, but she said she was willing to die if she needed to get that girl back. So she talked to him, and she said it took several talks. But eventually, she said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 bags of rice. You give me the 12-year-old girl. And she explained to him, this is a child. She needs to play with other children. She needs to be with her mother. She needs to grow up. And finally appealed to him, and he turned over the 12-year-old daughter. We heard story after story after story of brave, courageous people who stand up for social justice and for what they believe in. Is that powerful or what? Oh my gosh. Yeah, really. And then the mentoring of the next generation and also dialogue with the next generation, so important. These brilliant young people would blow your minds. And we have some sitting here in the, in the audience, right? Brilliant young people who have solutions and ideas and often feel like they're ignored by the older generation. So it's important for us to remember when a young person comes up to us with ideas to really take the time and listen and invite them in. So all of the things that are going on, the shootings, the political divisiveness, the natural disasters, the migration of those fleeing war and lands that are ravaged by climate change, and that is what's causing that caravan, It's climate change. It's the results of the land being ravaged by climate change. And so as we contemplate all of these things, let us remember what Reverend Michael said so beautifully. It's the last gasp of that consciousness of separation. The last gasp, the birthing pains. So let us remember to breathe and push. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Everyone.
God is all there is.